No matter the time, morning, afternoon, or evening, any time is a good time to have coffee with the mayor. So let's join Mayor Steve Widmyer as he goes in search of the people, places, and events, both current and historic, that make our community unique.
Hi, I'm Steve Widmyer. Welcome to Coffee with the Mayor. Boy, we've come a long ways since the very beginning, and I'm here with, as always, my co-host, Woody McEvers. And I don't know, Woody, this has a chance to be the coolest show that we've ever done, the coolest Coffee of the Mayor show in history. But it's not because you and I are any cooler.
That's right.
Because we're not really any cooler. It's because of how cool our guests are.
That's right.
And so I want to welcome Jason Olsen and Nathan Baker, Opie, for being here today. And we're going to talk about the skate park. And I just wanted to start off, and I think that, that Jason and Nathan would agree that where we've come with the skate park would not be possible without Woody McEvers.
Now.
We 100% agree with that.
And he has been a champion for all of the skaters out there and has just pushed forward. And we have a great skate park now. And so, Woody, I'm going to have you kick off the show and talk to a couple of your good buddies, and we're gonna have a good time talking about skating, the skate park, where we've been, where we're at now, and maybe where even we're going to go in the future.
Well, you know, there's a picture of the 1992 park that Opie caught my eye on, and I came across that in the archives in the city, and I think the parks guy told me that's that picture of Memorial, and the park was wood. Wood. And I just love that picture because it's just sort of shows the history of how basic things were at that time. And somebody asked me to ask, does somebody have those ramps?
Those ramps are dead, Woody.
They're dead.
That was our
chicken coop somewhere?
Yeah.
that was the original temporary skate park. And when we talked to the guys for the interview for the city, and they said, you know, oh, are you guys scared? You get this temporary skate park, you're never going to get a skate park. Right? And I said, well, we had a temporary skate park before, and we got a skate park before. I got to believe it'll happen again. You know, the down rail on that thing was actually a ski, and it would cut your trucks apart. It was hodgepodge together, so those didn't get saved. No. Yeah. Those ramps are retired.
I had to laugh. I just love that picture. I made that many years ago, and it's all 720, you know, small, but I enjoyed that historical perspective of skate parks. And you go back, Opie, to before skate parks, skating on the slab, the big concrete slab in the park and stuff like that. There's a piece of Dixie Reed talking a little about how the history, and she was on the council for a lot of years, and skaters went through some tough times in our city in the 80s, and you were around for some of that. And I don't know if they have that queued up, if they can run it. It's kind of, she was at the grand opening, and it was fun to see her. I hadn't seen her in a while, and she kind of took it back a notch or so. So if we have that and you guys could run it.
Where it was a time when the kids rode their skateboards where they could, down Sherman, on railings. And then they got the reputation of not being nice kids. That fostered the idea that these kids were not in the mainstream, if you will. They dressed different. The community, they didn't know what to do with these kids, but they were scary kids because they looked different. And I've seen it change now to this. They're not scary, they're our children, and they needed a place to do what they like to do. But these kids needed something different. We don't all need the same thing. They needed a place. And now they have a really nice place where they can express themselves and have a good time with other kids that have the same interest.
Don't you love that?
Yeah, I do.
It's nice to have that historical perspective on things. And I'm sure football players and basketball players all have that, but this has just been a long road coming, and, kind of looking to you guys now. You guys made this happen. Any kind of perspective that you can look back on?
Well, at the very beginning of the process, the immediate goal was, we've got a PR problem that we need to rectify.
Yeah.
And it was one of the people who lived in the community and worked in the community, and Fred Ogram, who is an old skateboarder.
That's right.
And a skate park designer. And we sat down and we talked with him, and he gave us this list of development ideas to work towards a skate park. And a lot of it had to do with getting the community to know the skateboard community, and to get them to engage the community in a little bit more of a way where the community can get to know them. If a lot of them do look scary, and they're, we're a scary looking bunch, but there's a lot of sweethearts and a lot of great people, great kids. There's, skate dads that have bi-generational skate families. And it definitely, once you get past the initial look and you look a little further and get to know them, there's a lot of great people in our skateboard community.
And to kind of add to that a little bit, it's I think it's such an individual activity that I think a lot of times we're used to going, okay, if this is a sport, then these are the people as the whole. Who's the leader? Who's the coach? Hey, you need to talk to the coach about the team. I think there's a little bit of that. We kind of had to break that down a little bit. We're going, this is an individualistic activity, but we are unified together, and that was one thing that we really tried to push for, is to kind of unify our people a little bit and go, hey, you know what? We're in this together, but we're all different, and kind of celebrating that diversity, but making it something that we can actually, as a marketing guy, kind of get that out to the public a little bit of going, hey, you know what? We're all right people, man. You know what I mean? We might be a little rough around the edges or whatever the case is, but they're good people, so I think that's important.
You know what surprised me through this whole process was the passion that skaters have for skating. It's kind of like the freedom that it gives them. It's a kind of an individual thing. I mean, I don't think there's not a sport really involved. I don't know if what is that, roller derby, I guess would be skating sport, but skating is such an individual thing, and there's so much passion. Maybe talk about your guys' passion for skating, when you started, when you're like, boy, I just love this, and you loved it enough that as you became an adult and got your own family, and you still maintain that passion and passed it on to others.
Yeah. I think one thing that I'm 45 and I've been skateboarding since I was about 8 years old. you know. And when I kind of found that whole activity and found, you know, I was like, this is a fun thing to do, you know. It's just the rush. I think it's the rush, and then as I kind of grew older, it became the challenge of being able to go, hey man, you know, can I do this thing? Can I do this thing? It's very cumulative, and it's not something that, you know, Woody can go, let me show you how to do that trick, you know, and get you out there do it. It's all you. It's a completely individual thing. I can't land that trick for you. I can maybe give you pointers. And I think when these people, I think that becomes the passion part of going, hey, you know what? I did that for me by myself, and that made me feel good, especially as a young adult and a teenager into young 20s and stuff. That stuff is important, man. You know, that builds massive amounts of self-esteem, and that's what you need. You know, I mean, really, in the scheme of things. You know?
Yeah, Opie, how about you?
So my older brother, he was a skateboarder. He used to do the skating in Coeur d'Alene in the 80s, and I started skating when I was 12. And you know, a large sect of our population of skateboarders are inherently angsty, you know, and they're they got this energy, and hopefully you can find a spot to direct some of that energy. And with skateboarding, you can take some of that negative energy or just teenage energy and put it into something where they can just get out there, throw it out there, burn it off, and get your adrenaline flowing. And I know that even though it's such an individual sport, that skateboard community that I was a part of when I was younger, I mean, it really gave me this tight-knit group of people that knew I could count on, I could rely on, I could be a part of. And as time went on, and it turned from everyday skateboarding to what do we do with this leftover skate knowledge and ability, and a body that's not so suited for it anymore. What do I do with it, you know? And you look towards mentorship, and you know, hopefully we figure out a way to help these guys channel their energy that's so well suited to aggro skating into a little bit less of a gnarly, you know, thing for society, but still a gnarly thing for skateboarding. And I felt like I had a debt to skateboarding that I was happy to pay by trying to see this process through, and it was a long process.
I agree. You know, and that's where me and Opie met down at the skate park. You know, and like as soon as we met, we were, you know, just bros, and totally been hanging out, and we still hang out now. You know, and it's 20 some odd years later, and that's because of skateboarding. That was something I was into, something he was into. We were able to meet down at a public park and hang out and root each other on, and became lifelong friends. And I see a lot of that happening with our local skateboarding community. There's all these guys that are individualistic coming together and realizing and knowing that they're a community. And I think overall that's super important with the skate park in general, just to have a skate park, is to really offer those young people an opportunity to experience community. You know, because they might not experience that before. You know, they might go, you know, because I've seen it. A lot of them are like very much like us and them. It's going, hey man, it's not like that, man. You know, you're not, you know, you need to find your community and then expand out of that as time goes on. So,
I remember a time you guys were exposing grammar school kids. I remember going to in a gym in a grammar school, and these guys brought their bikes and ramps and did this big demonstration for these kids. I mean, they're 5, 6, 7, 8, you know, grammar school, and it was crazy. The kids were screaming, and these guys were doing jumps, and they had a guy dressed as Spider-Man, and it was just watching these kids like they'd never seen this before. And I wonder how many of those kids evolved. It made me think about that. I remember hanging out down there and talking to the guys, and you guys used to travel to go to different skate parks. Yeah. It was like an adventure. We're going to Montana, we're going to Seattle, and you listen to these guys talk about their experiences riding these different places and what was good and what they liked. And I think that helped you guys and us develop what we have today.
Yeah, I totally agree.
I think it was just amazing. We have a piece when it was being built, right? The crew that came in, who you guys decided to build the park, and we
Evergreen
have
skate park.
Evergreen, yeah. And we have a little interview with Rick Ricky?
Richie.
Richie, yeah, thank you. Richie. Sorry, Rich. But, you know, if they could run that, it was really interesting, his perspective on building parks, which is what they do. And he found it real unique to do that here.
Yeah.
And I was kind of shocked, so.
Sometimes I go to a place and there's nobody coming to the fence the whole time we're building. We just go and we just build it and we leave, and it doesn't seem like anyone's ever even gonna notice. And here I've never seen so much just like, yeah, even just cars driving by, honking. People are just excited here, and that is just really special. Everybody who worked for the city just seemed like they were like a part of the project too. Like you weren't like trying to battle them in any way. They weren't trying to slow you down in any way. They're just here to help. Like the city, you know, trucking in so much dirt for us and just being, yeah, just really, really easy to work with.
I thought that was pretty cool. You
Yeah.
know, that the city stepped up. I mean, you guys created this thing out of nothing. I give you a lot of credit for this, and I know you're still involved and keeping looking for the future. You know, and it's winter now. Speaking of winter.
And we want to talk a little bit more about the benefits of the skate park and what you see as the whole entire community. But I just wanted to share a story. This was shortly after the skate park opened, the new one that we have. And I have a lot of great conversations in coffee shops. And I go into a coffee shop and there's a young lady that works there, and I become friends with all of these folks. And I could tell that she was a little down, and I just kind of said, yeah, guys, how are you doing today? Oh gosh, I've had a really, really rough day. She said, but I'm about to get off work and I'm gonna get my skateboard and I'm gonna head down to the park and my day is gonna get a lot better. So that's what that meant for her.
That's so cool.
21 years old, had a really rough day, but she was gonna grab that skateboard and she was gonna head down to the skate park. And I thought that was such a cool story because that was going to make her day better. And I think that's what we're all about, making people's lives and days better. But just talk about, from your guys' perspective, what you think that this park means for the community of Coeur d'Alene.
Well, I think that I think it's really important for that demographic that, you know, 10 to whatever,
80.
you know, yeah, 80, you know, for that demographic to have a place to go and gather, you know, I think that's important. I think that's a big part. Something that I mentioned before, I think it's really more about the skate park effect than it is the skate park, especially for young adults, for them to be able to realize that, you know, that if you fall down, get back up. It's a huge life lesson. You know, I'm a business owner, I'm sure that we've all experienced that. You know, and if you fail and then you didn't get back up, then hey man, you know, it's not good. But to learn that early on, I think is a huge lesson. And I think the skate park teaches that, you know, and I really think that's the big thing. And then something I mentioned before too is about the community, them being able to experience community as well. I think those two things are quintessential to the skate park experience, personally.
And you know, and one of the things you guys did that was fantastic too is that when you talked about that you felt, Opie, you said, talked about, you know, we've had maybe a little PR issue that we needed to get through. You guys put on a fantastic event. Your fundraiser at the Coeur d'Alene Resort was just fabulous. You guys worked on that. It was one of the most professionally done events that I've been to, and I've been to a lot of events, so you did a fantastic job. But I'll have to tell you too, the council, the 6 members on the council, became 100% behind that, boy, we need to make a quality skate park. So you've turned so many people's minds as pro skate park. You've just done a fantastic job of that.
Well, you know, I think the thing that a lot of people didn't understand going into it was that the city didn't hate skateboarding. You know, I think there was this outlying thought that Coeur d'Alene hated skateboarders and skateboarding and the skate park, and we had to break that down, you know. But I think that there was definitely, you know, they wanted to know that if we give you guys this beautiful place to skate, are you going to treat it well? You know, are you going to share it well? Are you going to use it to foster community in these guys, you know? And one of the greatest things we did in this whole process, you know, we did those skate clinics. And we had 30 kids. One of those classes, 15 of those kids were girls. And we had, you know, 30 kids out there with their little skateboards, and they didn't have a way to get introduced to skateboarding other than, you know, thrown to the wolves. And gave them the ability to come and use a park and to feel a part of that, you know, and it gave the older skaters that helped out the ability to be a part of that, you know. It was a shared thing that they got to do a little service work and to not have it be a horrible thing, you know. And that was such a cool thing to see happen, you know. And I know myself and Greg Holt, we're going to go talk to Paula, and we're going to get those clinics fired up again, because now we got a great arena to do it in.
And just one of the short things that you said, be a part of that. And when you see the kids down there skating, they want to be a part of something. And down there at the skate park makes them feel like they're a part of something. Everyone wants to feel a part of something, right? And I think that's one of the things that is just so cool.
Yeah.
You know, thinking of the history when everybody hated skate kids, doing some research back when, you know, they were getting tickets for riding in the curbs and didn't have a place to go, as Dixie had said in that particular interview. And I was thinking back to my time with the council and keep kind of bringing the skate park out in front and getting the camaraderie of the council and the mayor, things like that, to where it moved forward. First we thought it was going to be in McEwen, and they had this piece of dirt sort of set aside, and then as it evolved, you know, we could do better, you know. And it was interesting for me as to kind of, okay, buy your time, keep pushing it, keep it out there in front to find the money.
Sure.
And then I think you really stepped up, Mayor, and kind of pulled it all together, because we always had the vision for different things, but when you pulled off McEwen changeover and found the money from urban renewal and things like that, nobody had done that. You know, they'd always been out looking for grants, and the grants couldn't quite make what we wanted. And I give you a lot of credit for making the business side of it work, you know, and you step back, let it run, and then you guys stepped up, and I just couldn't be happier. So I have an interesting perspective on it, watching the process through politics or whatever you want to call it, and like you say, the buy-in from all the council people. It's
really interesting, just the whole process of it, you know. It's just when we started doing it, it was really, you know, when I started, you know, wanting a better skate parks, because I wanted cooler stuff for me to do cooler tricks on. Well, as time went on, I got older and the body's not there, whatever the case is, you know, I'm going, hey, man, I ain't gonna do that trick, it's not gonna happen, you know. But it just became something that we just did. It wasn't even, you know, this is what we do. We're trying to, advocate for a new skate park. And then as we got closer to the process, really understanding how city stuff works, you know. It's like, you know, I'm a young guy. I'm thinking, well, why can't they just, you know, come out and just build me a cool grind rail, man? You know, well, because there's a lot of stuff that goes into that, you know, and understanding that process, and it really gave me a higher respect for all of that whole process that the city has to go through, just really to do anything, you know, and it's really a dang miracle that the skate park happened, really.
Well, towards the finish line, you know, and we'd been hearing for years, you know, like, the skate park, we need a new skate park, you know, and then we knew we were going to have a summer without a skate park, you know, like I knew that, you know, and we told them that, but I don't think it processed. And when the old skate park got torn out, all of a sudden this outpouring of sentimentality and sadness.
That's right.
Yeah.
Like it was crazy, and it was amazing to me how sentimental I was about that skate park too. And the thing that it really did to me was made me realize that it's not just grind rails and ramps. It's a community, it's a gathering space. Because one of the skaters said to me, I said, well, it's not a big deal, dude, we'll figure it out. And he said, where am I gonna go to see my friends? Because that's where I see my friends.
A tear dripped out of his eye, I think.
You know, and it hit me. It's like, well, this thing needs to facilitate more than just rad tricks. This is a community gathering space for these people and some of them are fringe teens that don't have any other place that's going to bring them into the fold than going to the skate park. You know, and I've seen generations of that.
Oh, yeah.
And it's, you know, so I mean, I get choked up when I talk about the skate park because it means a lot to me.
So in our last couple of minutes that we have, so let's actually talk about the sport. We'll call skating a sport, right? It's a sport.
Some people
Skiing
won't
is
like
a
that,
sport,
but whatever.
Skating is a sport, right? Safety. You know, as a granddad of a 2-year-old granddaughter, and she may go down to the park someday and skate. Safety, because you're always thinking, you know, if you've got kids, grandkids, right, thinking, oh my goodness, they're going to go out there and they're going to break their arm or something like that. And you guys have been skating for a long time. Give us some safety tips for the skaters out there so they're not breaking any bones.
Yeah, I'll kind of pop in on that. You know, I think that people tend to skate within their comfort level. You know, I mean, I haven't seen a 5-year-old kid come down to the skate park and go, I'm going to drop in on the biggest ramp, because it's super scary. You know, so I think there's a little bit of that happens, you know, as far as like safety gear and whatnot. I mean, it's always good to wear safety gear if you can, you know, I mean, if, you know, it's better to than not to, you know, and really kind of working within your ability level. I think that's a huge part.
Well, and you know, put a helmet on your kids, you know.
Totally.
Put elbow pads and knee pads on them. And then, you know, when you're not there, they might keep them on. It's kind of a, you know, but the one of the great things that the clinics have done for us is given us the ability to talk to the kids about some safety. And the other thing it really helps is given us the ability to talk to them about how the park works. You know, to an outsider looking at the park, it may just seem like this chaotic mess of bodies and boards and bikes, but there's a very, you know, a pattern that forms, and there's, you know, ways that people skate, and if we can get these kids to understand how to be a part of that, then they don't wind up in the middle of the freeway, you know, and in harm's way. So, you know, and there's a lot of us down there that are more than happy to at any time, you know, sidebar with a parent and, you know, like, hey man, where can we get some stuff, or, you know, what kind of gear should I be putting on my kid, or, you know, why does my kid's skateboard not work and yours guys it seems to, you know. And
timing's huge time too, you know. I mean, a lot of times with the guys that have kids, and they want to bring their kids down, tell them, come in the morning, man, you know, because for one, these teenage guys that are down there ripping it up, they're not up till 11 anyway. So you're down there and you get the park to yourself, and you can really kind of explore it like that and get that confidence up for your kid before they start skating with the big dogs. So.
Big one.
Yeah.
I think I've watched the evolution of helmets. I think the first guy to ride a helmet was a BMXer.
Yeah.
And now scooters have helmets, and more people are riding helmets. It's sort of like acceptable. You know, it was like certain things weren't cool for a while, and it evolves. And I think that's part of the generational thing that you guys talk about, is that as we gotten older, you're getting that broader perspective on what's important to the next generation, the support generation. Yeah. So.
And I would really encourage you guys to work with our recreation department on those clinics, and let's make sure that we take full advantage of the recreation department to promote kids skating, and let's get as many kids as we can out there enjoying it and having a good time. Woody and I promise that it's going to be landscaped this spring.
Yep.
It's going to not only is going to be a great skate park, but it's going to be a great looking park. We're going to complete the deal. And then the only one thing that I would ask is that for one of your clinics, you are going to have to get this guy out for just one run. That's all I'm asking, is for one run on a skateboard.
Well, it's from the mayor's mouth. We're going to have to make it happen, man.
Yeah, I'm feeling the pressure now.
Start stretching now.
Stretching, okay.
Anyway, thank you guys. I really
Awesome.
appreciate
Thank you,
all
sir.
you do for our kids. It's really fantastic, and really appreciate all you do. All right.
Cool.
Thank
you.
Guys.
So we will see you again next time for Coffee with the Mayor.
We hope you've enjoyed this edition of Coffee with the Mayor. Plan to join us for future programs where Mayor Steve Widmyer takes a break and sits down to discuss issues of community interest. We would like to take this chance to thank the following sponsors for their support: Rustler's Roost and Spectrum Cable. So brew a pot of your favorite blend and sit down with us next time when we once again have Coffee with the Mayor.
What's the best part of skating?
Being at the skate park.